Evening all. So this will be the final video on this little project of making my swivel base. Last time I left you, I just treated the box with the metalwork, and that is the result. So it's killed the rust, and all of those crusty horrible areas have all hardened up now, so they can just be painted over, carpeted, look pretty. Rust preventative has been done. Let's get cracking. Went to 30mm because that and that is going to be a 10mm gap, so it's raised by 10mm, so I've dropped this by 30mm, so my seat drops by 20mm. I can do maths, me.
Time.
Ow! And that's why you wear these. Don't want one of those bits of wire in your eye. Hurt. I'll get a full face mask.
Now it's cut it off. You just can't add on. Unless you weld it on. Starting straight. Oh, straight.
I've drawn round. Now I'm going to cut that out. Now, I could have actually welded this on first and then cut it off after, but I just thought I'd go with it this way around. This way around.
This way around? Yep. Yes. Right.
That way. We'll grind back these edges now to get rid of some of this galv. And then I should get a decent weld without it spluttering everywhere and without getting all of the horrible fumes. If it starts to smell weird or anything like that. All four sides are all ground back. Now, the base, since cutting the tops off and cutting it down a bit, it's all going to be wibbly wobbly. Not wibbly wobbly, but when you put it on that surface now, I can feel that you can hear the movement. So what I'm going to do now is put some weight on it so it's flat against that plate, put a couple spot welds on there, and then I'm going to go and try it back in the van and make sure that it sits flat on those studs. The last thing I want to do is weld all this up and then find that it's all welded up twisted. Perfect. So there's about 10 spot welds, just a couple on each corner, whilst holding it flat on the wood, and straight away that has made that lovely and solid. That's kind of bracing it in that position now. So I'll go and try it in the van and make sure it sits properly on those studs. Now it's pitch black outside, so I wasn't pointing in it. There was no point in recording it out there. Now the only thing with this base is it might look wibbly wobbly, but it actually matches the studs of the van spot on. It's because this has got like an offset piece on the underneath of it originally. Obviously it wasn't designed for the van, but when it sits on the studs it sits lovely and level, so dead happy with that. And then if I pop that base, the top bit of it back on, it all lines up later on. So next thing to do, get that properly welded in. That is all welded in, so I've done plenty of welds in those corners there, and then just stitch welds in between. I'm going to grind around this edge now to make that nice and pretty, and so there's no like lip, because it's going to be nicely carpeted over. And then I'll be making brackets to beef up this, because obviously this is like 1 mil, maybe 1.5 mil steel. I don't want my bolts just pulling through this, so this is going to get plated up now with some thicker steel, which is going to get welded to the inside of this here and the sides, so the pulling force is distributed over a bigger area and more material, crucially from this segment here. So I put the top onto the base, got it square, and then carefully rotated it to reveal the fixing holes on the underneath of this, in the corners, marked it up, drilled through with an 8mm bit, which reveals where the fixings come through here. So I'm going to have bolts coming through here. So what I'm doing now is making up some angle iron, which is going to go on the inside of here, one there, and I've scribed it around this corner here, and that's now going to get welded in on the sides and a couple of stitch welds across here. Let's weld it up. So angle iron is in, and I've got some good deep thick welds in and around those corners, and then just cut a couple of dabs along there. So we're in there, then I flipped it over, drilled back through those holes again. So I've got an area now where my nuts are going to go on there. I'll probably end up making them captive as well later on by welding them in like I did with the other bits. So I now have pretty much a finished base and a finished top. So I'm going to turn my attention to this. So this faces the passenger door, so this is the side, this is where you sit, legs would be here, and this is the part that used to go on. So it's got like a pair of hooks there at the bottom, catches, and it would normally just hinge on there and it would sit on there like that. But
Obviously there's nothing for those catches to go into, and this would get in the way, even if I did sort of manage to make it marry up with that again, which obviously it's now out because that sits lower. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this and just see if I can try and make something out of this. I did think maybe I could maybe make a hinged down metal door with a catch on it or something, because I do still want to keep this area maybe of like a toolbox or something. No point in losing that bit of space. So let's see if I could just do something with this first, because it already, you know, clips on and it matches there and stuff, so it'd be daft not to at least try something. So slice the bottom off, try to keep it as straight as I possibly can, and that will fit on there like that. So I want it flush with the top, and then it's gonna go down to the floor. Then transferred this onto a piece of ply, put it on there, drawn around on the inside, and I'm going to cut that out. Piece of wood chopped out with a jigsaw, and then I've gone around these edges with a little file and got round got the burr off. Just give this a spray paint of just some primer. The idea is that is going to sit inside there, so this lip here goes over the top of it, and then the rest of it sort of sits inside. So it's going to sit something like that, so you won't see it there, but it gives the inside a bottom. And then I've cut out the back here a little bit deeper so that it sits up, so it gives me something to glue up against here. And I've just got to try and glue that in place for now, I think. The piece has gone like that, so I've put a couple of clamps around it to hold it in place, and then I've just put some super glue in inside the gaps where I can, so you can't see anything from there. Doesn't look too bad. As long as that holds and it goes solid, then I'm happy with that. What I'll do is I'll spray that up and stuff afterwards. Not that you'll see it, you have to take it off to see it, but if it ends up looking like that on the side of the seat, I'd be dead happy. Next thing to do would be the little hooks. I need to do some hooks on here, and I need to do some holes in the side there for that to receive into. Whew. So whilst the paint dries, I've just been doing some work on this. So what I've done is put it all together, and then I tried spinning it around, and the top surely did hit the nuts that hold this down. So then I've measured up what clearance I needed, and I've just had this, and I've just sliced all the way around the top. So that now gives me clearance. So I've got that gap there for these two pieces to spin. And that now I've just got 4 bolts just hand tight in there now, so I can pull on this lever, and that now rotates and it doesn't hit anything. So what I'm going to do now before I go any further is I finally got it to the point where I can just drop this into the van and put the seat on top and make sure the seat clears the B-pillar. If it doesn't, I'm going to lose it, because it's been a lot of work. It works, and it works well. Put it in, did have all the bolts and things in it, but it was in its place, and then pulled catch and it just spun around. Dead happy. Now we'll do some finalising stuff with the base. I'm going to weld in some parts where there are holes from. So like the door used to go over this here, but the door's obviously only going to go up to there now, which just leaves all of that on show, which just looks ugly. And obviously I want all this carpeted, so what I'm going to do is weld in a piece of steel in there, and then just completely put that
flush, and then also I'm gonna have to cut my little holes out here, put a plate in there for my door. Then whilst I'm at it, may as well weld a little bit in there, so may as well just do that. I'm considering cutting this piece off the bottom of the door here and welding in a new bit there as well, because it's kind of all rough and rotten and stuff. It's going to be carpeted over, but it's got a horrible edge to it. Get some bits like that done. So cut a piece of steel out, and then you can get these magnets, hold pieces together like that so your hand's free whilst you're holding something else. That's no need rude. So I'm getting pretty close to finishing this now. What I've done is just temporarily bolted everything together, all fixings in, so it's all properly clamped up, just so I can make sure all the tolerances are as they should be. So I ended up with, I think, sort of a 15mm gap in the end to give clearance for this top section to miss the bolts in the bottom. But it's all pretty much ready now for a thorough coat of paint. I'm going to use a black hammerite on all of it, even though it's going to get carpeted anyway. I want the metalwork protected from any moisture, especially from the carpet and stuff like that, so it's all going to get painted up. So that's where that semicircle was cut out, that's where that bit of rot was. That top piece there, that's been welded in there now, so you can't see the inner workings underneath that. That's all going to get obviously carpeted. I have made the door for there, so I've recut these holes in here so the original clips will fix into there. You can see where they used to fix into there, they'll fix into there. Everything's just gluing up, so it'll hook in, hinges up, locks in, and I've got a little cubby place there, so it's all got an access point. So not lost too much of my storage, obviously you can see I've lost that much plus 20mm. But I can still get like probably my tools or something in underneath. So the coat of paint. And it now works. So if I get that in shot, pull that handle to one side, turns, goes all the way around. I have had it temporarily sat in the van, and I've had the seat on it, not bolted and everything, but just had the seat sat on top, and it turns and it clears the B pillar. It's not a problem, so it's going well. Got some finishing touches to do with this. I'll get it all finished up, I'll get it bolted into the van, and I'll show you it in action. So the seat is back inside the van and full catch at the front. It locks into place. And then I can recline my seat. And I'm facing back into living space.
Well, that was a lot more work than I originally anticipated, but we finally got there, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching me do it. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.